everybody, it's Thursday and we're going to talk about our addition with our decimals. Okay, so first I need to do my estimate. I'm going to round because I'm going to make this easier for myself. I'm going to round this way up to 70 and I'm going to round the 7 and 7/10 up to 10. I'm doing this because this is much easier for me to work with and I end up with just my 80. Right? And again, you can do it however works for you. The purpose of the estimate is to give you an idea where your answer should be around. Then I have to recognize I rounded up. So this is more, and I rounded up. So this is more. So 80 is going to be more than what my answer should be, but it should be pretty close, like in that ballpark. Okay, let's do the actual addition now. Okay, so I lined up my decimal, right? And if you notice, I put in green just like yesterday. My 0, that's my placeholder because of the fact that this one, the 65 has 67 hundredths, right? 2 places. And the 7 only had 7/10 attached to it, so only 1 place. So remember, I can keep adding zeros. That does not change the value of my number. Okay, so I'm on here. So I'm going to start on the right when I add. 7 plus 0 gives me 7. 6 plus 7 gives me 13. 3, I carry my 1. 1 plus 5 is 6. 6 plus 7 is 13. 3 seems to be our magic number, huh? I carry my 1. 1 plus 6 is 7. So my final answer is 73 and 37 hundredths. And as we said, that's close to my 80. And I knew that the 80 was going to be a high estimate because of the fact I rounded up. So my answer makes sense. Okay, so I have my multi-digit subtraction problem. I have 521 and I'm taking 319 away. 500, I'm going to do the same thing as I did. I'm going to make this 500. Now remember, I rounded down for that. Minus 300. Again, you could have done 520 minus 320. That would have worked. It doesn't matter. You just have to know that if I'm on these, this is going to be around 200. Now remember, because I rounded down and I rounded down, this 200 is a smaller number than what it'll be, but it should be somewhere around there. Think about that. If I had made this 520 minus 320, I'd still end up with 200. Okay? All right, let's do the actual subtraction. Okay, so I'm going to line up my ones, tens, and hundreds. And notice on each of our problems so far, we've had to do our regrouping or our borrowing. That's important because I know that several of you want to just kind of flip-flop this, and we can't do that. Okay, very different problem. If I have 1, I cannot take 9 away. So I need to borrow. This becomes a 1. This becomes an 11, right? When I did that, I took the tens. I moved it over. 11 minus 9 is 2. 1 minus 1 is 0. And 5 minus 3 is 2. So 202 is my final answer, which is very close to my estimate. Okay, so when I take a look at this problem, I have my fraction addition. Remember, we're going to need a common denominator, but if we do our estimate first, I know that this number is more than half, right? Because half of 15 is 7.5. So it's more than half. And then over here, half of 5 is 2.5. So 3 is more, but this is closer to half. So if I'm taking a look, so this is not that far. So I'm going to be pretty close to the half mark, really closer to like 3/4. Okay, so that's going to give me my estimate. Now let's talk about actually adding our fractions. So we need a common denominator. Again, this 5 is a factor of 15, which is great because this first fraction stays the same. And then I'm going to switch this one to 15ths. So I have to think about that. I had to multiply my 5 times something. 5 times 3 gave me 15. So I'm going to do the same thing to the top. And 3 times 3 gives me 9. And so I hope you're getting the idea here because when I scaled up, I know that this number here, so this is going to say 15. And this one here is going to be more than that. Okay, so we have to think about this, what that means. This is called our improper. This means I have 18 pieces. In order to make one whole, I need 15, right? So I'm basically doing 18 divided by 15, or I'm creating my one whole, right? Because I have 15 in there and I split it into groups. So I took a group of 15 out of the 18, and then I do 18. I'm going to write that over here so you see what I'm doing. 18 minus 15. Can you see it without the glare? I'm going to have 3 left. Okay, so I have 3 left. Let me go back over here. I'm going to have 3 left out of the 15 that I originally had. So when I take a look at that, I know that both of these are odd, right? And I know that 3 is a factor of 15. So let me get my green. I'm going to divide this by 3 over 3. That's how I'm simplifying. Remember, for fractions, we need simplest form. I'm going to write this one below it. So I keep my one whole. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 15 divided by 3 is 5. If you say, Mrs. Marshall, right? Remember, we can go the other way. If I'm looking, 3 times what number gives me 3? So 3 times 1 gives me 3. That's where I'm getting that bottom. And 3 times what number gives me 15? That's my inverse. 3 times 5 gives me 15. So you got it. So we have 1 whole and 1/5. Okay, so our final problem is our division, right? And so doing our estimate, right? I'm going to take a look. I have 184 and I'm splitting into groups of 4. I can do this 2 ways. I know that 4 groups, because if I think of this as like a dollar of 100, 4 groups of the 100 is 25. And then I have my 25 plus I have my 80 that has mine. Let me show you what I'm doing. I'm doing 100 divided into 4 groups. I'm doing 80 divided into 4 groups, and I was doing 4 divided into 4 groups. So normally when we do our estimate, we are just going to kind of not do this actual division, right? It's just giving us an idea. But because this one's actually an easier number, especially when you look at it this way, I know that 4 is kind of a factor of each of these. So I know that should make it a little bit easier number. The other thing that I could do is taking a look at it this way for my estimate. 184, I'm going to round up to 200. And I know that if this was 200, if I did, so it's over here, 200. And I'm going to look here with this 20. 4 times 5 gives me 20. And then I put my 0 at the end. Okay, so I know that it's going to be close to 50. Okay, so when I did it that way. So I'm going to show you 2 ways now, because this is going to be the actual division, guys, when I do it this way, right? If I'm doing 4 times what number gives me 100, if I think of a dollar, right, that's 25. 4, I see I have a 0 at the end of here, so I know I'm going to have a 0 in this. And if I look at my 8 here, 4 times 2 gives me 8. So now I have 25 groups plus 20 groups, and then 4 divided by 4, or 4 times what number gives me 4, that's going to be 1. Okay, so then I just add these numbers together. These here are what I'm adding together, because this is my groups. So 5 plus 1 gives me 6, and 2 plus 2 gives me 4. So 46 should be my final answer. Let's take a look and do it the other way too. So this is not a bad thing if you can figure that out and you do it that way. But then we also have our traditional. How you've seen your long division, that when many of you see this, you get all freaked out, and there's not a good reason for you to get freaked out. We know how to do this. If I have 1 item, I cannot make a group of 4. If I have 18 items, I can make 4 groups. I know this because 4 times 4 is 16. When I subtract, sorry, this glare is horrible. When I subtract, I end up with 2. Then I bring down my 4, and 24 is a multiple of 4. That means it is 6 groups. 4 times 6 gives me 24. So 46 is my final answer. So there's our long division problem. This is your make sense of it and break it up into what makes sense to you. Either way works. Let me know if you have other questions.